There's two things that come to my mind after watching a fight like that between Jose Pedraza and Richard Commey. Number one, what a fight. Man, both of these men showed up. Both of them brought it. They fought with a high sense of urgency and a very good skill set. And the second thing that comes to my mind is there are few things more unsatisfying than a draw. It is just so, You think about what both of these men did in their training camp, both of the ways that they prepared, their trainers showing up, everybody putting all of this on the line, both men fighting so hard, particularly in this fight. It was like neither one basically took a round off. It was just from the opening bell to the final bell, action. And then we end up with a draw? I mean, look, I know after the fight, Tim Bradley said that he was okay with the draw, and I get what he means. He means in the sense of like, when you look at the scorecards, a draw is fair. We got 10 rounds. I understand how you could give 5 rounds to each man. But again, it is just so unsatisfying. Man, it's like, oh. But when we look at this fight, what a fight by both men. And I can absolutely understand why both men brought their A game. They're both in a position where they needed a win. Both men were held belts at 135 pounds, lost to the top guys there, moved up to 140. This was like the 6th fight for Jose Pedraza at 140 pounds, first one for Commey moving up. Neither one is getting any younger. We got Richard Commey at 35 years old, Jose Pedraza at 33. And both of them know that time isn't on their side. They need to get after it. So they're in a fight with each other. A loss at this point in their career. Man, that's really going to be a step back. And when you get a fight like that and you get two veterans out there with a good skill set, you get a really good fight just like the one that we saw. Now, look, I'll be the first to say it. I don't think either of these men is going to turn around and dominate at 140 pounds. It's just not in the cards. We got some guys up there who can really crack. You got some guys up there with some good skill sets. We see new entrants, young guys like Teofimo Lopez, young guys like Gary Antoine Russell, guys who are at the top like Josh Taylor. I just don't see either one of these gentlemen being able to progress to that length. I mean, we saw what happened with Richard Commey and Teofimo Lopez at 135 pounds. We think we're going to get a rematch at 140, even if Commey came out here and looked great at this. I mean, look, both of these men put in some really good work. I mean, right in the first round, we saw Pedraza. He was starting to spin Commey, starting to turn him. He said that he was going to use lateral movement. That what he saw when he looked at the fight with Lomachenko was that Richard Commey's a man with power, but if you get him to move that front foot, you get him to pick it up and constantly have to reset and move through your lateral movement, through working your angles, that you were going to be able to nullify that power. And that's a great concept. But when you think that you're going to produce what Lomachenko produced over the course of that fight, you know it's a tall order. You know you're asking a lot. And we saw it work for Pedraza beautifully at times. I love the way that he went to the body. That left hand of the body was beautiful. He ended like 9 body shots in the first round. And that's another way to slow a man down. When you land those body shots, particularly when you land them early, it's like putting money in the bank. I love the way Teddy Atlas puts it. He said it's like putting water in the man in the basement. You got water in the basement and your house has problems. And that's exactly what we see when you go to a man's body early. We saw Pedraza go to the body early. We saw him go to the body in the middle and the late rounds as well. It was really good work in that way. It was really an effective game plan, and when he focused on it, he was able to see success. And we saw it slow Commey down. We saw Commey start to slow down later in the fight. And you have to think at least part of that was because of that body work that Jose Pedraza was doing. Now, don't get me wrong. Richard Commey has his moments. Okay, particularly with that left hook. We saw in the 2nd round, 3rd round, 5th round, we saw Commey laying in the right hand. We saw him being aggressive. When he was able to back Jose Pedraza up against the ropes, he was able to get some real work done. That is not a place you want to be against a man who's a puncher. Commey has that one-punch power. And when he was able to back Pedraza up, when Pedraza wasn't moving, when he wasn't spinning out, when he wasn't staying particularly active, when he wanted to go in there and bang instead of box, Commey was getting the upper hand. He's got power. He was able to work. Both of these men were leading and countering. It was a great fight all the way around. Nevertheless, it ends in a draw. So as we stand here right now, what's next? It's a huge letdown for each man. Neither wanted to. It's like neither came out with the loss, but you also didn't get the win. Well, I'll tell you, in my opinion, what I want to see, I would be perfectly content with either man fighting Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia recently made his proclamation that he is moving up to 140 pounds. He's trying to call out a lot of big names. I think like a lot of other people, still think he's got some flaws. He's still got some holes. I would love to see either one of these men fight him. Think about it. We see him go in there against a puncher like Richard Commey. We see him go in there. That's a man who's got a deadly right hand. That's a man who's got a heavy left hook. Fast hands. He's been in there with a lot of people. He's a veteran. He's not all the way shot yet, right? He's not like completely past his prime. But we've seen him take some. We saw the way Teofimo Lopez do him. We saw the way Vasily Lomachenko did him. So we know that he's not a guy who's at the absolute cream of the crop. He's 35 years old. I'd love to see how Ryan Garcia looked against him, how he would do. He keeps his chin in the air. I think he would be a real concern that he was going to get caught by Commey. But at the same time, Ryan Garcia's got some good skills, but he's not going to be able to turn Commey. He's not going to be able to use that lateral movement that we saw Lomachenko have success with, that we saw Pedraza have success with. Now flip that. Let's say we get Ryan Garcia in there with Jose Pedraza. Now he's going to have to deal with a southpaw who's kind of crafty. A guy who's I think he adapted to 140 pounds well from moving up from a lighter weight. Goes to the body well. Decent, if not above average ring IQ. Like, he's a good fighter. Even if you don't have to worry necessarily about getting knocked out, okay? That makes him even a little bit more desirable for a guy like Ryan Garcia, because if he goes in there and makes some mistakes against a veteran who's got a good ring IQ, he doesn't have to worry about getting caught with one punch and getting the lights turned out. So I would love to see how he responded in a fight like that. I'm not sold that Ryan Garcia is the truth, that all of a sudden he's going to turn it around, but I'll tell you what, he's had 2 fights now with Joe Goossen, and I liked what I saw in that last one. I think that he's still young and they can get some work done, and I think one of these guys fighting him would, one, be a good payday for either one of these gentlemen. It would be a great test for Ryan Garcia. I think it would line up well. I don't think either one of them is going to be looking to get in there with Teofimo Lopez. I think Lopez has his sights set on something much bigger. But I think Ryan Garcia would be a good fight. So let me know what you guys thought. Did you really enjoy this fight? Was it as good as you thought it would be? And what do you think should be next for each man? Would you like to see him in there with Ryan Garcia? Would you like to see him in there with somebody else? Let me know what you guys think.